Hello, this is the May Be Mindful podcast, and I am your host, Hannah May. I'm a mother of 6, conscious birth instructor and educator, spiritual growth facilitator, and certified hypnotist. This podcast is about inspiring hope, expanding awareness and consciousness in order to revolutionize the way we live and experience our lives. You can expect thought-provoking episodes each week spanning a range of topics, drawing from both my own journey of transformation and healing and working with others. I hope you find this podcast to be informative, refreshing, illuminating, and instrumental in your own soul's evolution and growth. Let's jump right in. Be yourself. Like we just were. Yeah. No, don't take it that far. Just kidding. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the May Be Mindful podcast. I'm your host, Hannah May. And today I'm so excited because I have a really amazing guest. So go ahead and get a snack or a good drink and get ready. This conversation is going to be a little longer than normal since we have some good stuff to talk about. Samantha Jackson, everybody, is a health coach. She is a clinical nutritionist, master personal trainer, side note, but not a side note, radiologist as well. And she is both trained and certified in the US and Australia. So she has a pretty massive client base and works with people all over the world. And I'm just so excited that she's here today because we want to talk about taking the fear out of food. So Sam Jackson, everybody. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so blessed to be here and talk to you and to your audience. I think this is fabulous. About time we collabed on something.
It's about time. Well, we've talked about it for so long. And we've talked about doing programs together. Hey, friends, I have some exciting news to share. This December, I will be teaming up with the wonderful health coach, Samantha Jackson, to bring to you our Integrative Health Kick. This is a curated 5-day long journey to help you feel balanced, energized, and ready to end this year strong and start the next one stronger. Sam will guide you on nourishing your body without restrictive diets, and I will be sharing mindset shifts to support your inner transformation, which will pair nicely with your outer transformation. You will not be disappointed with these results. Let's wrap up the year with a new, sustainable, and accessible approach to wellness. Check out the details in the show notes. We can't wait to have you join us. We thought it would be, well, actually, this was your idea, to talk about specifically taking the fear out of food. Because this is the thing that you're seeing really be a stumbling block for people in your work, right?
A lot. Yeah, a lot. Everyone has a fear food. Well, not everyone. The vast majority of people have a fear food.
Most people. Or even if it's not around specifically food, right? It could be like an image-driven fear or something like that. And I just need to say before I go on, because I haven't, like some of my oh my gosh, some of my thank you. You should see me by myself. Some of my viewers are really used to only hearing me talk about the mind and the soul, right? But the body piece is not something that I've really gotten into yet, but it's something that is profoundly important in my life, obviously, because how could it not be, right? We have these amazing bodies and vehicles for our souls, and so you can't really address one and ignore the other. And I think one impacts the other, and we're this mind, body, soul sort of overlapping system, and you can't really separate them, so when you're good to yourself, right, in one area, and we all have our areas of expertise, which I think is so amazing, and there's so many different pieces to the puzzle and so many different tools and so many different things we can implement to support ourselves and our health that it's not like a compartmentalized thing unless we really try our hardest to just keep it compartmentalized and make something a religion. Like some people make working out like that's the only thing they do, or you could sit and meditate on a mountaintop forever and forget to eat and maybe you die, I don't know. But like if they like highly spiritual, but like too bad they didn't make it, they forgot to eat, although I shouldn't say that because I think there's been some pretty spiritual people that have managed to get by without food for quite a while.
40 days, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like Jesus. Yeah, that guy. So anyways, I want to throw this back to you, and I just want to hear from you and your experience around this and what you're seeing.
Well, it's the ultimate Venn diagram, right? So you've got your mind, body, and soul, and we all have to live in this one. I call it a miracle meat suit because that's what it is. Like we're just this flesh suit that carries us around. We quite often we treat our cars better than we treat our body, right? We're putting great fuel in the tank, we're getting it serviced, we're rotating the tires and all that kind of stuff. And then when it comes to this vehicle that carries us around, quite often we're lucky to wipe the seats down. We're taking care of our bodies is one thing that we tend not to be good at, or we tend to go the other way and like it's the focus of our entire lives and nothing else matters. But somewhere in between that is this fear that we have around, if I do X, then this will happen, because that's what we've been told, that's what we've been conditioned to believe, that's the outcomes that someone else had, and we think that's going to happen to us. It's a real fear moment. And I was just talking to a guy 3 days ago that we were sitting down having a cup of tea, and there was a biscuit or a cookie with this cup of tea that came out with it. And he goes, "Oh, we're not allowed to have those in the house." And I just, there it is. There it is. You've got this fear around, if I have one biscuit, I'm going to eat the entire pack. Or if I have one, then I'm automatically going to, my clothes aren't going to fit. I'm going to look in a way that I find disgusting. It's this real fear of, I just can't have one of those near me. And it's really sad because all food is just food. We've been conditioned to believe that it isn't, but it is.
Well, I think anytime we're afraid of something, we give it actually a lot more power, right? So there's this environmental paranoia, and like there's a lot of toxins, there's a lot of hazards out there, but then we forget that we can cultivate an inner environment, and we can step into agency, especially when we're armed with the right information, right? Which is your area of expertise, which I've relied on you heavily for, because you have actually transformed my food life, and you've empowered me with information to help me create balance. When I met you like years ago, and I had a massive fear. I also have to throw in some caveats here, which I'll do in a minute because I can't help it. But for me, when I came to you, I had my sixth baby. I think I had just had my sixth baby. So that was six. Whoa, that was 6 years ago. That's so crazy. I can't even believe that. Holy shit. Okay. My baby was almost 1 year old. And I was so frustrated because I was really out of balance and I was gaining weight. And I was like, I had a nutritionist and they would give me brilliant ideas like just eat keto or do intermittent fasting, which I found was actually not helpful for me. I know it is, some people love it, but I also know there's been some studies around women and intermittent fasting where it's like not necessarily a great thing to do long term, right? And then some people adopt it as like a lifelong thing. And, not to get in the way, you're the expert. I'll let you speak to this. But my story and my experience was that I was really low energy. I was getting sick all the time. And I have a history of a pretty serious eating disorder, body dysmorphia, and stuff that was getting, like the shame and stuff was getting real kicked up for me. So that was playing into it and exacerbating it. I had a not lifelong. Since I was about 16, I came into an agreement. I was like, "Hi, agreement, nice to meet you." And I shook the hand of this belief that an entire food group was like bad, right? Which was starch. And so I was starch restrictive for 20 years, more than that. I also, as a side note, I'm highly sensitive to sugar, just like alcohol. So it's actually not something that's in my diet anymore, but I'm no longer afraid of it. Like knowing that about myself, I've been able to do what's best for my body. I love not eating sugar. I eat fruit and natural sugars and stuff, but I do it all in balance. Like I eat the right combinations of food and like balance my macros and all the stuff that you taught me and space my meals and snacks. I'm like clockwork. And it's not even something I have to think about anymore. And when you first gave me this plan and I was nursing, so you didn't give me, it was like, you didn't give me the detox week you normally give people, like none of that. You were just like, eat this. I was like, Sam, you know that I'd like to lose weight, right? Because what was happening was I was gaining. The more restrictive I got, then I started gaining. And you said, yeah, I've heard it all before. And you were like, just trust me. And so for me, this was the real crossroads that I came to is, okay, first of all, somebody's saying something to me that's just like so sane and balanced. I'm going to have to take a chance on that. It sounded like a nice idea too. Like if I could eat starch in all my meals and have favorable results. And so for me, the crossroads was, okay, am I willing to step in and be open to doing something other than all these fads and rules that everybody seems to follow that came out of someone's ass somewhere. I don't even know where they came from. Like allowing those to dictate and without favorable results. And so I had to have a decent amount of courage for that, but it was like precipitated by just, I can't do this anymore, and I needed a change. So I did that. And the short story is like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch you. I'm gonna watch you, Sam, and I'm gonna watch the scale. And I did it. And like the first week, like I ate what you told me because you were like, no, we're not gonna this is not at all restrictive. Not that you put people on restrictive plans, but you were like, we really want to nourish you because you're nursing. So I was like, all right. And so we did this. I stepped on the scale at the end of the first week. No gain. I was like, all right, well, I'm feeling good. Like I have energy. Like I'm able to eat a healthy, balanced meal. Week 2, lost a pound. Week 3, lost a few pounds. And then probably I'd say in about 2 months, everything that my body was holding that it didn't need was like whoosh, it just fell off. Never happened to me before in my life. Okay. And I was like, whoa, to the point where, okay, and we're talking to a body dysmorphic who like has this like sick idea that the skinnier you are, the better, which I actually don't really believe. I love being strong. I love having a healthy, athletic, strong body. And I love seeing those bodies too. I was like, I'm too thin. All this skin, like from all my babies and pregnancies, I was like, Sam, things are falling. And you were like, oh no, I got you. It's fine. And you put me on a weightlifting protocol, and we're just going to bring it up. And that's what we did. And it was amazing. And then, my body did sort of level out and balance out, and it kind of clicked into that space. And then you've been able to help me troubleshoot since then. And it's just been so rewarding to not have to be like a victim to craving and all this, So that's my testimony. And, I would go to school and I would see people, and I've been athletic and very active my whole life. I was a dancer when I was younger. I'm somebody that needs to move a lot because I'm just happier when I do. And I got like that energy buildup that I need to move. And I within a few weeks, I was like showing up places, and people that were used to seeing me were asking me questions like, did you start working out? And I'm like, no, I've always worked out. No. And I started eating more food more consistently. And it was just amazing. I feel like it really gave me like my vibrancy back. Anyways, I'm going to throw it back to you because I know you see this all the time with people.
I do.
And they doubt you all the time. Right?
Oh, all the time. Working with me is a leap of faith. It really is a leap of faith. And I describe what I do as being in that little glass box with the little label on it that says, in case of emergency, break glass. Because usually when people come to me, they've tried everything, they've done everything, and they're fed up. They're just at their wits' end. So that's usually the space I work in. And your story is so typical of people that I work with, because I think...
How dare you say I'm typical? Just kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
But it is.
Yeah.
It's like on repeat, because if I have $1 for every time people said to me, are you sure I should be eating this much food?
Mhm.
I reckon I'd have about $7,000 like lined up, because it's really interesting that we are told eat less, move more, be skinny, weigh less, and that's the mecca that we should head for. And
Mhm.
it's so, and I have to turn that on its head, because and this food good, this food bad, all of that kind of stuff. And yes, there are foods that we should eat less of, absolutely, but it doesn't mean that it's bad when it's your only option. That's that you've got to take everything in context there.
Mhm.
But your story absolutely warms me. It really does. It warms me so much to hear that you are now eating intuitively.
Mhm.
You are confident. You are balanced, and you've just got it. I love it. I absolutely love it, and it just shines a light. You really, really do. And it makes me so happy to hear what you say.
It's really interesting because it really parallels with some of the other work that I was able to really dive deeper into, you know. It really set me on a new path in a lot of ways, actually. In my service work, in my hypnosis work with my clients, my own spiritual growth. It impacted all of that. You know, I really dove deeper. It enabled me, it sort of like held it down. It like held the space down for me to go, I feel good now. I feel physically good. I'm not having to fight fatigue, because that kind of stuff is just, it's like a distraction. You know, and it's like when we clog ourselves up and we're not treating ourselves well, then it impacts the way we think. It impacts
Mhm.
this inner environment that we're actually creating. Like we're literally the architects of our genes, and and our, like, according to epigenetics, like we have a big part in that. Like we are co-creators in our experience. It's like we've got all the stuff, but it's like, well, what are we going to do to take care of it in order to really allow our essence to shine forth? If somebody's like inebriated with anything, right? It could be, and I think, like, speaking from the perspective of an addict, because I have decades in recovery, I think we have an addiction crisis. Um, I think we have an addiction crisis. I'm gonna speak for the US, definitely, but maybe everywhere. And a lot of that comes from um, not knowing how to meet those deeper needs. And like, we turn to stuff in that to soothe when we don't have the appropriate tools to soothe, and we don't know how to direct our thinking. But at the same time, like, those things negatively impact, like if you're filling yourself up with garbage or you're not nourishing yourself properly, then it's like, though, that impacts your state of being and further perpetuates negative thought cycles. When I work with people, I work with the mind and the spirit, and it's just, it's so important to be able to keep ourselves, like, operating and functioning clean and clear, to be the people that we want to be, to even have the desire, right, to then the motivation to do the things that we know we want to do.
And when you were saying about that 3 week mark, where your body just started to release everything,
Yeah.
usually it takes less than a week to get your body into that homeostasis state. But around that week 3, that's where the magic happens. That's where your body is firing on all cylinders. Your skin glows. Your frontal cortex is happy. So your frontal cortex is your mood center. That actually relies on balanced blood sugar. And what we did with you and with everyone that I work with is, the first thing I want to do is make your blood sugar hormones balanced.
Mhm.
Okay, so that means you're not getting spikes and drops during the day. Your moods are stable, and you get this real kind of zen, things that used to make you lose your cool. Now you just kind of look at it and go, it's not like this real flip out moment anymore. You're not either up here or down here. You're in the middle, and everything is. And not to say that life becomes easy, it doesn't, but your response to it becomes easier, because you've got that balanced blood sugar, because you are nourished. You've got the fuel on board to take on or to tackle anything that you need to. And you're not gripped with an anxiety of, oh my gosh, I feel hungry, but I have to feel hungry. I have to feel hungry, because if I get any bigger than I am, if I put on 1/2 an inch or anything like that, my whole world is going to fall apart. if I eat something to satisfy myself, we're gripped with this, and it's not a fun way to live. And then people are turning to all sorts of different things to satisfy the need, when if we just ate properly, a lot of that wouldn't happen. If we actually just filled our own buckets with food that makes us feel awesome, because the human body is designed to feel awesome. We are designed to have energy. We're not designed to feel mediocre. We're designed to get up in the morning and go, woohoo, I'm alive.
Right.
That's how we're designed to feel. And if we nourished ourselves,
Mhm.
that we could actually get into that space, and be that annoying, cheerful morning person. Like, we could all
Like
do
you?
that.
Yeah. What time is it there for you? It's like 4:30 a.m. or
Um,
something? Yeah.
it's nearly 6 a.m.
Yeah. And you've been
So
up for
yeah,
a minute. Yeah.
I was up at 3:45 this morning, and I wake up in the morning and I'm like, yep, ready to go.
You want to know,
I'm
I became a morning person when I got balanced with my nutrition and cleaner. Yeah.
absolutely. And it's not, and you don't fear that feeling of, oh, I've eaten something. A lot of people, when they feel satisfied from their food, they're like, I'm not supposed to feel this way. I'm supposed to feel hungry. I'm supposed to be on a diet my whole life. I'm supposed to have that gnawing stomach feeling,
Mhm.
because that's what I've been told I should have. I should feel hungry all the time if I feel satisfied. And people use this language around themselves. They go, I feel like a pig because I'm satisfied. Well, that's how you're supposed to feel, darling. It's really bizarre that people, yeah, just don't want to feel, or they fear feeling good. It's sad.
It's a conditioning. And I think it's interesting because people adopt whatever critical voices they've been conditioned with, which they may not even be aware of that they've adopted them, and they just think it's their voice and they think it's the truth, and all the messaging that we get from our caregivers and along the way, or even just from medical professionals or people that are giving us information that are causing us to feel afraid, and then we get caught in that
Mm.
cycle. And then it's just sort of like this group think of like, something's bad. I know there's like certain health things and certain people have certain needs, and like it's not always a one size fits all, obviously, and some people do better. I mean, like, I'm an example of somebody that has to be a little bit more extreme with certain things because I do have a higher sensitivity. And so there's certain things like for me, I look at it as like radical self-care, and I'm not interested in triggering something that's going to kick up a craving for me that
Mhm.
I have been powerless over in my life if I've kicked that up. Like somebody who's alcoholic, for example, who actually doesn't have the capacity to drink moderately, they're so like they have to put that shit down. Like they have to put the alcohol down in order for them not to keep triggering it. But interestingly, there's no recommended amount of refined sugar in the human, like in the diet, right? Like
Correct.
I learned that when I was pregnant one time, I think with my this one time when I was pregnant with my fourth, and she gave me the nutrition list. She's like, this many servings of this many servings of this, da 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 da, this many, fruits, vegetables, fats, whatever, protein, starch. And then we got to the bottom where it said, how many servings of sugar? I was like, oh goody, how many of those do I get? It said the recommended amount, 0. I was like, oh, that's good, you know? It's like on one hand, like, yeah, you can enjoy it. Like for somebody that can be moderate, it's okay to know that like it's not going to kill you, right? Um, you can moderate that. You can get back on track. You can allow yourself the dignity of like enjoying something. But for me personally, some people view me as a little bit more extreme, and I've actually had people be extremely critical of me for adhering to a plan of eating 5 to 6 times a day and eating balanced. And I think partially because people feel like you kind of throw up a mirror if somebody's not taking care of themselves, or if they don't know how to do that for themselves. And so they want to attack that if they're not ready to look at where they're not doing that in themselves, because I think ultimately it makes them feel bad about themselves. But it's not very nice to be criticized either, I will say.
It isn't. And I don't think it's nice, because people will, yeah, you're right. They do. It's a mirror held back at them. So I'm 5 foot tall, and I weigh, I think in pounds, it's about 115, 120, something like that. So I'm a little person.
Mhm.
but I eat 5 meals a day. I'm constantly on the, I'm going for my next snack. I'm planning out, I've always got food with me. And people will look at me and go, oh, it'd be so nice to, oh, you're eating again. And, it'd be so nice to be able to eat like you eat. And, it's just these little diggy comments in there. And I'm just like, mind your business.
or call me and we'll work together and you can. Yeah. Or do my boot camp. Yeah.
It's exactly like you can actually do this, but I don't subscribe to good food and bad food. And when we were over with you guys, I took all of you guys out for ice cream, the kids and all that kind of stuff, just to go, hey, we live normally. Yes. Ice cream is not the devil. It's actually okay.
And to that point, like if you're creating like shame around something, anytime there's shame around something, or like, oh, like the dirty little secret, that's the thing that you continue to do and thrives in the darkness. And those are the things that oftentimes are actually the things that cause all the problems, I mean, it's like with my kids, I've seen it where I've been a little like hardcore on something and I'm like, shit, I said too much and now it's kind of turned on me and now they're in rebellion with it. And now I'm like, you know what? I gotta just, obviously I have my rules about like, there's certain things that I don't have in my house because I don't really want to support that. But at the same time, I'm like, I gotta let them make their own choices with that so that they're not feeling bad about it. Because I think if we're beating up on ourselves and we have that negative thought loop and self-talk pattern, then that's actually really harmful and not productive for making progress and feeling good and having the energy to want to do what is good and healthy for us, right? And so the fear around this stuff is also, I think people don't realize how detrimental it is, because for every thought you have like a physiological response in your body. So you're essentially creating the environment, right? Your inner environment. I mean, I would argue that there's no really good, healthy fear. I'm not talking about instinctual fears. Instinctual fears are there for a reason, to keep you safe, to help you react when you need to get into action, or to keep yourself actually safe. But everything else can really go.
Yeah, and everything else, I actually believe comes down to a choice. It's okay. So there's choices that we know are not going to be beneficial for us and our environment. There's choices that we know aren't going to be beneficial for our children. We make those choices every day, but we need to make informed choices as well about what do we put in our bodies and how do we talk to ourselves about that. And I know you and I were talking the other day about, I get a lot of people, and everyone has heard or said themselves, I am fat, right? Yeah. Everyone's heard someone say that, I am fat.
Yeah, I used to say it all the time.
Yeah, and anyone who says that around me, I just go, whoa, stop. You have fat. You also have muscle, you have bone, you have skin, you have a person living inside of you. Yeah, why are you just personifying one piece of you? That's not okay. That's not okay to talk to yourself like that, because that's your message of acceptance to yourself. And I think, therefore I am. So if you choose not to have a certain aesthetic, then that's, in a lot of cases, that is a choice by your actions. Your body will always respond to the actions that the instructions that you give it by your actions over time.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, this is what I work with people on. Exactly. And I'm curious, do you find that people who have that mentality of that belief, like they've attached to that belief, do you find that those people, those are the ones that are usually struggling to take weight off, and they stay really stuck?
Very much. Yeah. They're in the nothing works category.
So they're in the story. They're like living their story that they're telling themselves, essentially.
Yep. And they're the ones that I get the really hard time from in the first 2 weeks, going, this isn't going to work. You're making me eat too much. This is never going to work. You're making me eat carbohydrates, for goodness sake. And they get in this panic about it. They wind themselves up, and then their cortisol levels go up. And I'm like, whoa, calm down. You're not doing yourself any favors here. Trust yourself. Back yourself here, that you can actually achieve what you want. Like, back yourself. Believe in you. You've taken a step. Now see it through.
Like rein the thoughts in. It's interesting because it's sort of like, I recorded another episode on this around withdrawal, like detox and withdrawal, and how the withdrawal and the detox from detaching from a belief actually needs to happen on a cellular level. And that's part, I think, of the panic, because people are detaching from a former identity. They're like even though it's interesting, right? Because they don't want to live in that, like they don't want to like be like the quote, fat person, right? The belief that they've identified, that they're now embodying, that they're actually living out, right? Because they're so attached to it through that self-talk and through that fear that's keeping them out of action and keeping their energy very low. And then most likely contributing to low energy is the food they're probably putting in their body or not putting in their body or whatever, right? And it's like that separation is brutal, actually, because that's a threat to the identity. Like their actual identity is threatened. And I think people aren't conscious, like cognizant of actually what's happening on a spiritual and cellular level, as well as the physical stuff of like detoxing from, like maybe, a lot of sugar, right? Or heavy starch or fat or whatever it is that they're needing to kind of shift back into balance with, right?
Oh, absolutely. And they've become dependent on these foods. I think it's a fine line there between a dependency and an addiction. There's that
Yes.
little space in between.
Yes.
And yeah, people are dependent on their crutch. And food and comfort food has become a crutch. And then they'll go, oh, during the week, every day for lunch, I'm eating tuna and salad, or I'm having, just chicken and rice and all, and they restrict and they're good all week. And then come the weekend, their body goes into this their mind and body goes into this all-out rebellion, going, I'm going to eat the entire fridge, like whatever's in there, I'm eating it. And they turn into Cookie Monster and just shove everything in on the weekend.
So you feel like they haven't,
they've restricted way too much, and they've been good, and now they're bad, and then they've got to start again.
So it's like still, still there's a judgment in it. Yeah, there's like still this judgment and fear then of being, quote, bad, right? Yeah, and you're right. That's a really, really good point that I just want to say, like, that there is a difference between a dependency, a habit, and then somebody who actually suffers from addiction. And I'm sure you can see too, because some people, it's kind of like, it's interesting because I would think that with some of this stuff, like I've said, and I really believe that the two things that must light up the brain, I know it does for one of these. I don't know what it is with food because I haven't seen any studies, but you probably do. Food and sex are probably the two most powerful energies on the planet. And interestingly, those are the two things that are most required for our survival, right? So it makes sense. But then, of course, us humans, we get all crazy and we go all kinds of crazy with stuff. And, some of us are hardwired differently. And I don't really claim to know what to, whether that's genetic or what, but I have reason to believe that it is based on my bloodlines and the way that I went with certain things and people before me. But, I do think there's a spiritual piece there as well. And I also think, large spiritual piece. If I'm working with a client and they come to me with an issue, it could be a very simple, sort of more surface fix, or it could be something much deeper that we need to go in and resolve, that's like very attached to like a trauma or something like that. And so I think, with food, it's probably similar. Like some people who, if that's like a real coping mechanism, there's something else that might need to really be addressed there for them, that they may need to simultaneously address in order to resolve, to be able to meet those deeper needs, so that they're not using food as such a solution, right? So that it doesn't have so much charge on it, so that it's not like God, basically, that, they're going to be using that to like get okay. Because I think that's what I see anyway with food addiction or with like compulsive behavior. There is some people have deeper stuff that they really need to address and really take care of and meet the needs for themselves and learn how to self-soothe, because I think that's really the thing that drives a lot of addiction is not having the ability to do that. Those tools are essential. So for me to be able to have the plan, the menu, so to speak, like I didn't have to think about it. It was really wonderful. And so for somebody who's more inclined to be more addictive, to be able, regardless, right, to be able to have the plan that you offer, that's just a sane, balanced plan, is so important to be able to support themselves in that work as well.
Absolutely. And to start with, I do the thinking for you, because we're making changes. We're making a lot of changes, and a lot of them don't make sense to you yet. And I say you, like the person I'm working with, a lot of the changes to start with will not make sense to you, and you'll think it's all wrong, and it's everything that you've been taught not to do. Eat the starch, eat every 3 hours, be satisfied with your food, all of that kind of stuff. That's what you've been taught not to do. So to begin with, I just go, right, just do as you're told. All right, we're going to work as a team and do it my way. And we're just going to do as you're told for that first 3 to 4 weeks. And I just want to get you in the headspace where you're thinking clearly, because when the frontal cortex is happy, the whole body is happy, and it's a really great space to be in. And that magic happens at about week 3. You get your Zen on. So once I've got you in that space, I go, right, you're feeling good. Now let's actually teach you why you're feeling good. And that's when I start to back off with the meal planning and go, right, how do you feel you should eat? Like you're getting hungry at about 2.5 hours. You need to eat around 3. Okay. So that's that cycle that I need you to be in. This is your life now. And so people then get to that place like you, where it just becomes intuitive. It becomes second nature. You don't have to second guess yourself. Okay, here's my starch, here's my protein, here's the fat content in there. Bang, cooking with gas. And it's that really great moment where people take over the reins, and there's that mindset shift to go, I'm feeling really good now. I'm feeling energetic. I'm feeling clear-headed. My clothes fit me in the way that I want to. When I look in the mirror, I'm actually liking what I see. My skin glows. I don't want to lose this now. And that then becomes the dependency, not dependent on, people will typically start the day with either no breakfast or cereal or toast for breakfast and nothing else, because we're all busy, right? So people will just start the day with that. Usually morning tea, they might have, a cookie or a muffin or something. Lunch, if they're trying to be good, there's tuna and salad, or, a salad sandwich or something like that. Afternoon, because they've just been topping up with carbs all day and no protein to back that up, in the afternoon, they're starting to feel really sluggish and tired, but everyone around them is as well. So that's normal. That's the norm. And so what they do is they go, oh, if I don't have coffee or chocolate, I'm either going to fall asleep at my desk or stab someone in the face, like that kind of feeling.
I thought regularly.
Yeah, and that's normal.
I want to stab people in the face all the time. It's the first time I've ever said that out loud. Actually, it's not true. I actually say it sometimes.
Homeostasis. We have our Zen on.
Yeah. So work with us, and you won't want to stab someone in the face ever again.
But yeah, it becomes this normality, and people are also scared to break the norm as well. Like, who wants to be that person who doesn't get tired in the afternoon? Because you say to someone, how are you going? They go, oh, I'm all right. No complaints, really. And, but you say to someone, how are you? And they go, hey, I'm fabulous. It's like, whoa, you're a weirdo. And people fear of that too. They don't want to be that person. But if we're all that person, then that then becomes the normal, and it's about elevating that normal. Be the thermostat, not the thermometer. Set the temperature in the room of, hey, actually, I feel really good. And so people get into that normality of blood sugar spike at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they think they need chocolate to make it even higher so they've got more energy. No, you need to get off your ass and go for a walk, because you've got so much energy in your body. You need to go for a walk, and that is why you're feeling sluggish. So it's real.
It's counterintuitive at first.
Yeah, it's not intuitive to start with.
I would say that. I would say that probably everything that you had me do, and I actually considered myself, this is funny, I laugh now. I considered myself a highly educated person, because I had been putting so much focus into trying to be healthy and in all other respects of my life. And actually, there's nobody that you could meet that knew me that would not say that I was one of the healthiest people that they knew, because that's how much I cared about my health. I had been in recovery. I have all these children that I needed to keep my energy up for, but I was misinformed. I was like tragically misinformed on this stuff. And so, yes, everything I would say in the beginning was like, what the fuck? Like very counterintuitive, actually. I was like, Sam, what are you trying to do to me? Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. And, to your point also, I was thinking, around like what people identify with, going back to that for a second, and that fear around that. And somebody saying, I am fat. And you were mentioning, I'm also skin, you're also skin, you're also body, you're also, I was like, yeah. And it's like, we also have a soul, right? And like, we're more soul actually than anything else, because that's going to last longer, at least in my belief. How often do we identify as I am soul? or like, instead of normalizing, I'm going to start saying that, instead of normalizing, I am fat, right? Can we normalize, I am an infinite spiritual being capable of transcending and overcoming anything, and
Yeah.
I have an incredible body that's capable of change, right?
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. I am, I am, do you know what? I'm awesome. I am really awesome. Regardless of what I look like today, I am spectacular, because I actually believe everybody is. It's just one of those things. We're all this little, miracle that we're all here. So
Right.
let's embrace that. At what point do we stop embracing that and think that that's not something to be celebrated, and our bodies aren't something to be celebrated and honored? And a lot of people, like, they'll say, oh, but I deserve junk food on a Friday night. I deserve alcohol. I've worked hard. I've been good. I deserve to have this. And I said, oh,
Poison
okay, so
myself. I deserve to poison myself. Yeah.
what I want you to say is, I've been doing really, really well. I've been, I have been looking after myself in a spectacularly awesome way. And now I deserve to ruin that. Okay, so that's the language I want you to use around that. So, because when you say that out loud, you sound a little bit loopy when you say that. So, no one's going to, like, you're not actually going to do it when you actually call it what it is.
Right.
That's self-sabotage. You're not going to do it when you say it out loud in a way that describes what you're actually doing. And we wouldn't say to our children, look, I actually don't want you to eat fruits and vegetables and nice lean meats and stuff like that. What I want you to do is just go to the supermarket and get as much packet crap as you can find, with all the additives and all the refined ingredients that actually provide no nutritional benefit. And that's what I want you to eat. We would never do that to our child because we care about them, and yet we're prepared to do that to ourselves. So where is the self-care and self-honor and self-respect coming into that? So, yeah, and it's not that you have to avoid those foods forever. Like, you don't have to hide yourself away and never eat anything fun again. That's not the principle. But when it becomes your mainstay, that's when you've got to ask yourself some questions, and that's where that dependency comes in too. So it's not necessarily good or bad. It's the habits around that you've got to question yourself on.
Right, like the judgments versus like the facts. And yeah, I'll say, like, I love food. I love food, and I've always loved food. And I make myself beautiful meals. Like, I put so much love into my meals. Like, sometimes I take pictures of how beautifully colorful my meals are.
You do good.
Yeah, because it's like it's and it's like, I also am really into the psychology of color. Have you seen my nails today? I don't know. It brings joy. It lifts your whole energy. And to what you were saying around the way we talk to ourselves and what we're doing, it's, and then expecting ourselves to do well. It's like, if you take an illustration of somebody talking to a child, and I love using child metaphors because it's just so obvious. But like, if an adult or somebody is talking down and berating a child, like, what happens to their energy? They literally, like, they cave over, they shrink, they look down, everything sinks, and if you lift a child up and you speak kindly to them, they're vibrant. They literally they stand up straighter, like their whole energy shifts and their whole state of being changes. And you know, at this point, I don't know, maybe we still have like some parents like saying mean things to us, I don't know, but like we are our own parent here. We really have to reparent ourselves, and that's the work that I do with people too, is really taking ownership of that and stepping into that role and taking responsibility for ourselves and our well-being and advocating for ourselves and like doing the things, speaking, yes, like speaking to ourselves kindly in a way that's supportive and helpful and encouraging, because we need that. And then, you know, following it up with the action, because we'll immediately, a lot of times people kind of like brush that off. Oh, whatever. They don't take it seriously. Oh, saying something mean to yourself or living in a fear-driven place. It's like, oh, whatever. They discard that. But I would say that we experience the effects of that immediately, depending on how we're talking to ourselves. Just in the exact same way that an adult talking, like a parent talking to a child, you see the effects of that immediately. It's no different, you know? So it's really important to get clear on that, I think, and to be able to support ourselves in that way as we take care of ourselves, but also to just get the tools, like to get the right information and armed with the right information so that then we can implement it in order to create change.
Absolutely. And also the realization that, you know, we can do anything. Once we actually have those tools in our belt, there's nothing that we can't create for ourselves. So, and then it all becomes around choice. Do we use those tools or do we not? You know, so it's so empowering and so freeing to know that I have the tools. I just have the choice whether I use those or not in this moment. And sometimes you're going to go, actually, look, I'm at a birthday party. I'm going to eat the cake. You know, I know that's going to knock me out of homeostasis for a few hours, but I'm making the choice to eat the cake to celebrate someone's birthday. That's not bad. That's just a choice I'm making today because it's appropriate for the circumstances. But if you're sitting at home and you go, I'm going to eat a whole cake, that's not appropriate for the circumstances. And you've got to use your tools there to go, no, I'm going to make a different choice for myself. You know, and it's all around that freedom to make those decisions in the moment that you're in at the time. So it's so empowering. And people have said to both of us, oh, you know, you're so restricted and you've got so many rules and stuff like that. Yeah, but I find so much freedom in those boundaries.
The words that just went through my head was, I'm free, honey. Like, I'm free, you know, because yeah, I had somebody actually that used to make a lot of repetitive remarks to me. And it was interesting because she was very controlled and she was constantly on the diet or being restrictive or fasting or like not eating all week and then only eating on the weekends, you know, and it was like, that's not freedom. That's being driven. And that's for me, that's a fear-driven place. Fear is really running the boat there. And there's a lot of other stuff.
Absolutely. It's like being in a sandpit, you know, a kid's sandpit, and you've got all that really nice white sand in there, and then you've got the little wooden boundaries around the outside of it. Well, you can create some amazing things within that sandpit, but just try not to let any sand fall out onto the grass or onto the pavement, you know, outside of those little wooden boundaries. That's the way I see how we eat. We can create some wonderful things. We can have so much freedom in that sandpit, but if you go outside the lines, then there's going to be a bit of spillage that you have to clean up. That's all. And it's a metaphor I use quite a lot. And just stay in the sandpit, play in there. There is so much freedom in there. There's heaps of sand. There's heaps of flavors. There's heaps of shapes you can make. Sometimes it's appropriate to chuck a little bit of sand out, and then you just put it back in again when you finish with it.
I guess it comes down to like, well, what are you willing to, like, what's, you know, there's a cost on stuff. Like, it's going to maybe take a little time. You're going to be a little, maybe low energy that you're going to have to clean up.
Absolutely. And then nothing has a hold on you. I can choose, do I eat the chocolate? Because I have chocolate in the fridge. Do I eat it or not? Actually, no, I don't choose to today. That's cool. I'm the one that has all the power and all the control. That chocolate that's in the fridge does not have any control over me. It can sit there for 6 months for all I care, until I go, actually, yeah, I do feel like eating a piece of that. And then I can stop at one piece, because I've got that freedom, and I've got the decision, and I've got the control in there. And also, because I'm in homeostasis, I don't have cravings for it either. So,
Right.
and it's a
Well,
really,
and yeah, and that's interesting because so from my perspective, and I just have to throw this is like one of these caveats I have to throw in there, and is for the addict, right? So I actually, if I start ingesting that stuff that I'm sensitive to, I actually lose choice there.
yep.
So, which is why knowing that about myself, I mean, I have food abstinence, like that's part of my recovery, my deepened recovery. But at the same time, because I take care of myself with that and I'm honest about it, and then I do all the other things to properly keep myself in homeostasis, like you were saying, I'm neutral. I don't care about the chocolate. It doesn't have a charge on it for me. And for me personally, if I start like, which doesn't happen anymore, but if I'm like salivating, like looking at my kid eating ice cream, like salivating over it, I'm like, something's up. Something is up inside that I need to take a look at, and, you know, same thing if like all of a sudden I'm like, I want to smoke that cigarette. If that urge comes up, then I'm like, oh, there's something for me to look at. Like there's a longing, there's a deep longing, and I need to, that's my work. And that's part of my self-care is going, okay, what is that need and how can I meet that? Because like, truthfully, like ice cream's not going to meet that need. It never did, And so for people that don't feel like they have the ability to be moderate, because some people actually are just not moderate, it's still possible to have neutrality restored, like you're saying, and to like step back into agency with that, even if that's something that then they choose not to participate in. And
Totally. It comes down to know thyself. Like
yeah,
it really comes down to know thyself. Who am I? Where and where am I at with things? How do I feel about things? How do I respond to things? And working through that. And look, I don't have the experience or the knowledge working with people with addiction. So I can't speak into that like you can, and with your expertise there. So I can't go into that. But the dependency side of things, absolutely. And so when someone is dependent on chocolate, alcohol, cake, whatever their fear food is that they can't have in the house or can't have near them, to begin with, absolutely not. You're not ready to have this near you. I take all of that away, and we're just going to put that over here. You can have those toys back later. When you're in control, when they're no longer in control, then you can have them back. And I think in a dependency situation, that's a little bit, it's less complex, much less complex. And people will find that things that used to, if they had a bag of potato chips in the house, they would have to eat them all. Now they can have a bag of potato chips in the house and it can stay there for ages. And then they can take a handful out of it and then crumple the packet up, seal it, and then put it away.
so it's more behavioral.
Very much so.
Yeah. So
Very
it's
much.
in that case, it's yeah. So it's more behavioral, and then it's just about, like you're saying, getting into homeostasis so that then their body tells them I'm done. And I've known people that have worked with you also. They've been so amazed that have done your boot camp, and then they've maybe day 2, like you were saying, like woken up and been like, for the first time, I don't know how many years, I'm hungry and I'm going to eat breakfast. And like busting this belief that like to eat more is somehow bad. And then they're eating more and they start losing inches actually. They lose inches more than anything else, which I think is really rewarding, because who really cares what the number on the scale is, right? Like I don't actually even weigh myself because I don't like, for me, it messes with my head. I don't want to have an attachment to that number because for too long it had way too much power and dictated it was either good or bad, but either way it was bad because like it either brought me up or it brought me down, and I don't really want to give anything else the power to do that. But I mean, I think that's what I've noticed also is like you stop caring about that as much because you start feeling better, you start having energy, your clothes fit differently, like you're saying, and then it's like your body just does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. It's a magical moment. It really, really is this magical moment, and you just let go of so much, and your priorities shift, and it's quite a life-changing thing getting into homeostasis. And I just don't know why there's not more about it out there, because people are still glorifying skinny. And I remember someone said to me years ago, I just want to be skinny, and I said, oh, you just spelled healthy wrong there. Like you're not.
Yeah,
Let's focus on your health. The aesthetics will come. I promise you, they'll come.
right.
But
Yeah.
you've got to heal yourself first, and your body has to trust you first. You've just spent years of yo-yo dieting, and your body's going to automatically go, oh, right, here comes the feast before the famine, and she's going to starve us again, and all this kind of stuff. You've got to learn to trust yourself, and that your body has to learn to trust you. So that's a big corner you have to turn first. But the aesthetics come. The feeling has to be there first, and that's what we work on. So it's really an amazing shift. And then I think people to do the work with you as well, to really get their mind, their soul, everything in alignment as well. So you've got body, mind, and soul all just doing that together. I mean, that's pretty powerful. That's a powerful human being right there.
Yeah, it's everything. Well, yeah, beautiful. I mean, it's good stuff. And it's so simple, and I feel like we could keep talking about this forever, but it's really just, I mean, maybe we should just, I mean, the last thing I have to say about it, I'm a liar because I always say this is the last thing I have to say and then I keep going, but really, is that it makes so much sense. I think maybe one reason why people don't do it is because we have this tendency to complicate things, and really it's like the most simple pathway to access homeostasis is just balance everything and then you'll be balanced.
Don't make it harder than it needs to be.
Right.
Really don't make it harder than it needs to be. I worked with a guy ages ago that said, he phoned me. It was 2 o'clock in the morning in Australia, and he phoned me and he went, your recipe says handful of blueberries. How many is that? And I'm like, just get your hand and put blueberries in it. And he went, no, how many? I'm like, oh, does it need to be this hard? Like, seriously, do I count
Yeah.
blueberries now? Like, how big are your blueberries? It's like,
You needed to know,
so,
Sam.
yeah, it was, it was like,
It was like
so,
security. Well, and
yeah,
but that's how much that's the attachment. That's the power of food here. I mean,
yeah, it
lots
really
writing on
is.
it.
Very much so. And it's, can we just all relax around food? It's just food. Like, seriously, relax. And also what relaxing will do is just going to lower your cortisol levels too. And that's going to be a good thing. So just relax around food. Make the best choices you can with what you have available and what you can afford. Make the best choices possible for you in the moment that you're in. It's all just food. Don't make it harder for yourself. Life is hard enough. Don't complicate it with food in there too.
And do your
That's
boot camp and do your boot like 5 days and join Soul Lift for some mental,
yes.
spiritual uplift. Well, it's been so awesome to have this chat with you, and it's always so enriching. And you're just and I know we barely like scratched the surface with you because you're this incredible plethora of information. You're just like this encyclopedia. I'll ask you the most random questions and you have the answer, and it's like not what I thought it would be. I'm like, wow, that was quite the answer. So yeah, so onwards.
On, onwards and upwards. And yeah, keep your mind, body, and soul in check. Don't overcomplicate it.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so excited that you got to you were my first guest. And that's actually very appropriate because, like I was saying, this stepping into this body piece is the thing that helped me really catapult my other work. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Hope you enjoyed this enriching chat. Thank you for tuning in to the May Be Mindful podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us grow and improve. For more information, resources, and exclusive content, visit our website at maybemindful.com or go ahead and follow us over on Instagram at maybemindful. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please give me a follow, screenshot the episode, and go ahead and tag me until next week when I bring you another thought-provoking and inspiring topic. Until then,